you're in for a good show. It's going to be a good show. And without further ado, let's get started. All right, welcome to the show. Wanted to cover, again, a lot of what was happening with the news today and everything that's going big in Twitter X and what's really going on. What are the biggest stories? So that's what we're looking at today. Let me just make sure that we're up and running, make sure we're not freeze. There we go. See, you got to check that. Got to make sure that you're not frozen on another screen. That always ends up being our problem. So we'll fix that real quick. There we go. Now we're ready to go. Alrighty. So welcome to the show. We're going to be covering a lot tonight. It's going to be a 2-hour show at least. We're going to talk about Lindsey Graham, Iran, the nail bombs, so many things happening in the news. It's honestly wild. There's a lot to cover. So America First Post, Senator Lindsey Graham, I'm going back to South Carolina and asking them to send their sons and daughters over to the Middle East. Okay, so that's a little crazy, is it not? That's definitely a little wild. Okay, so ultimately, here's that video. Let's check it out.
You're making a great mistake, and you're going to cut off the ability to have a better relationship with the United States. I say this as a friend. Up to our allies.
Listen to this.
Up, get our air bases.
And of course, Twitter's going to not play it.
They're not reliable. Move all those airplanes to a country that would let us use them when we're threatened by a regime like Iran. To our friends in Spain, man, you have lost your way. I don't want to do business with you anymore. I want our air bases out of Spain into a country that will let us use them. To our Arab friends, I've tried to help you construct a new Mideast.
What is the point of this war?
Game here. I can't go to South Carolina and say we're fighting and you won't publicly fight. What you're doing behind the scenes, that has to stop. The double dealing of the Arab world when it comes to this stuff needs to end. I go back to South Carolina. I'm asking them to send their sons and daughters over to the Mideast.
What is wrong with this guy?
Our friends in South world when it comes to this stuff.
One more time.
I go back to South Carolina. I'm asking them to send their sons and daughters over to the Mideast. What I want you to do in the
there's going to be a draft for sure.
And other places,
they're definitely going to have a draft.
This is my fight too. I join America. I'm publicly involved in bringing this regime down. If you don't, you're making a great mistake.
Crazy.
And you're going to cut off the ability to have a better relationship with the United States.
So that was Lindsey Graham stating that he's going to go back to South Carolina and make all of the South Carolinians go fight for Israel. Again, these were Trump statements. Russia, big diplomatic win. Trump has lifted oil sanctions on Russia, allowing countries to buy Russian oil again. Critics say this could flood Russian banks with cash and prolonging the war in Ukraine. Putin may now sell oil. So
US Navy and his partners will escort
this was Trump's statements on that.
Needed. I hope it's not going to be needed, but if it's needed, we'll escort them right through. I might add.
Starting over.
Waiving certain oil-related sanctions to reduce prices. So we have some countries we're going to take those sanctions off.
So I think Trump is realizing that we're not winning the war in Iran and that it's disadvantageous for America to continue the war with Iran. So I think he's learning really quick that whatever PR bubble he's in, whatever is surrounding him in his administration, the people who are advising him, definitely they're misadvising him. Justin, the body of David Barnea of Mossad head live from Tel Aviv hospital. Again, confirmed dead. So this is kind of one of the bigger stories I wanted to cover on. This was the body of David Barnea. And it was alleged that Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel was in the meeting. I think that's false information. We're going to go with that until we have, obviously, the facts. But this was a conspiracy theory. It was a theory swirling around X that Netanyahu was killed in this same attack. So, again, this was a meeting that took place in Israel and essentially took airstrikes. So apparently Netanyahu may or may not have been involved in this meeting. But again, he did make a statement earlier after that. And again, but some people were saying it was AI. So a lot of people are speculating. Sources indicate that Netanyahu died in an Iranian strike. Yeah, that was 5 hours ago that this news came out. Whether or not it's true, again, I've already looked it up. It says that it's a lot of misinformation at this current point in time. Okay, but with that being said, it's definitely a lot to consider. What if Netanyahu has been killed? What if this entire war was actually Trump's way of getting rid of the apartheid state of Israel that was kind of acting as a fifth column in the United States? If we're analyzing things from that perspective, could be some kind of possibility. What if that was always the intention? So again, this is a video from John Thune, announced the Save America Act will be brought to the Senate floor for a vote next week. Nothing more than a show tactic because we don't have 60 votes. Don't fall for it. So again, this is what he had to say to the Save America Act.
Either to proceed, get on a talking filibuster, nor to sustain one if we got on it. But that is just a function of math, and there isn't anything I can do about that.
Sounds like Congress.
The president's got a passion to see this issue addressed, as we all do.
Does he understand that, though?
Well, we've conveyed that to him, but we will continue to make that argument because I think it's important that everybody understand that this really is about, about the votes, it's about the math. And
it's always about the votes for them, right?
For better or worse, I'm the one who has to be the clear-eyed realist about what we can achieve here. And so we'll continue to convey that. And I think that
we don't have all 60 votes.
We're going to vote on this. We're going to put it up, and we'll give the Democrats the opportunity to cast their vote on whether or not they think non-citizens ought to vote in American elections.
Yeah, we should not have non-citizens voting in American elections. That's common sense. Should be American citizens voting in American elections. That's common sense. New satellite images indicate evacuation or excavation activity at the Isfahan nuclear site with a narrow track carved toward a tunnel entrance. So again, this is showing a tunnel in Iran, possible routes that they're arming, nuclears, and a lot of different technology like that. We'll see. We'll see what happens with Iran. I don't know. It's not looking good, though, in my opinion. But we'll see how this shakes up in the next 4 to 5 weeks. This is Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario.
But again, this is just me speaking. I believe there's sleeper cells all over the world, as we know. They're in the U.S., they're in Canada.
That's a fact. Absolutely. Did you guys hear about what happened with Jake Lang? Jake Lang, whether you like him or not, okay, yeah, we know he went to New York City. We know he is Jewish. We know his agenda. We know he was going there to kind of cause a rise, all of that stuff. We understand what happened. But also we understand that a nail bomb, and thank God it didn't detonate, almost, it was a bunch of civilians this nail bomb was thrown in the middle of. People almost died. And so thank God that didn't happen. But that's a sleeper cell. That guy who threw that nail bomb in New York City, that's a sleeper cell. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about sleeper cells.
Weed these people out and hold them accountable. Because, again, folks, we all grew up here, very peaceful, loving communities all across the province. And for these people to be doing this, they need to be caught, and they need to be thrown in jail for life.
And again, this was a U.S. consulate in Canada that was shot at this morning by gunmen. But we have to understand that Canada is it's literally taken over by the Chinese. Nothing against them, but the Chinese have taken over Canada, and they got a ton of Indians in Canada now. So geographically, we can't really be shocked. This is a clip that left the world in disbelief and horror. Wanted to bookmark this. Look at this. This is what Israel did to Palestine. This used to be Palestine. This was Gaza. Central Gaza, a video you're looking at here. Crazy. And now it's all gone. So if they will do this to the people of whom they lived with for how many decades? The Jews, they lived with the Palestinians since the 40s pretty much, all the way up to 1967. If they were living really up to 2025, right, when this entire Gaza strike really started happening, look at this. So it's like, will they do this to us? Will the Israelis do this to Americans if they were ever given the chance? This is my question. This is my issue with our greatest ally. I'm all about conquering the world. I'm all about America first. I'm all about a Western hemispheric dominance. I like the idea of it. But this is not how it's done. And then you have the people who might say, oh, well, America conquered the New World America. Oh, what about America today? The Native Americans, you stole the land. It's like, actually, we didn't do any of this that you're seeing on the screen right now. We didn't do this. We built up society. We built the towns and communities. We built government. We allowed there to be peace and tranquility when different Native American tribes were scalping each other and killing each other and doing a lot of this kind of stuff. Savages, right? And so this is why it's so important to take note that this is the difference between America and our founding and then the establishment of Israel, in my opinion. Again, We didn't topple and destroy. We built upon this land of America. That is the difference. That is the difference. Yes, there were battles, but we didn't do this. We didn't destroy everything. And that is my point. It's important to make a note of. Going on, Israeli defense systems race to intercept incoming Iranian missiles over Tel Aviv. This is some more footage. Again, this was just 1 hour ago. Israeli defense systems race to intercept incoming Iranian missiles over Tel Aviv. Wow. So the war's moving fast. It's happening fast. It's a quickening, as they would call it. Here's some more statements. The press has said, why did the USA go to war? The senator said, Israel made us do it. So we have more Congress people admitting the same thing. So this isn't just conspiracy theorists saying all of this. This isn't just a bunch of anti-Semites and white supremacists. These are well-respected people of Congress who are stating this point.
What is the reason
Take a look at
that
this.
the nuclear program isn't the reason, as poor Ted Cruz, I never thought I'd put those three words together, is over there talking about nukes? And we know that the intelligence did not suggest that an attack was imminent from Iran. What is left? Why are we at war with Iran?
Great question.
This would be me in Congress.
I mean, the simplest explanation, might be the one that they gave.
I'll just say it.
That they've kind of tried to backtrack since then, which is that Israel made us do it. That Bibi decided.
It's true.
This time
That's a fact.
Netanyahu
They did.
decided he wanted to attack, and he convinced Trump to join him by scaring Trump into believing that U.S. assets in the region would be at risk, and so Trump was better off just joining Netanyahu.
And I think all the advisors around Trump said the same thing.
But you're right. As we are now hearing that the nuclear program is not part of their targeting campaign, as we're now more confident that even harder line leadership is taking hold, as the Strait of Hormuz is still being shut down, even as we get their Navy, what's left as the explanation? It might just be that Israel forced our hand, and how weak does that make the United States?
But we also have news that the Iranians are placing mines in the waterways of the Gulf of Oman and the Strait of Hormuz. So basically any kind of U.S. aircraft carriers that are entering that little strait, they're walking into potentially 5,000 to 6,000 different water mines. So that's definitely a big problem. That's happening, and we'll be coming up to that story shortly. White House confirmed around 150 U.S. casualties in Iran war. So she did not confirm this to clarify here, in the slip, this was not verified yet, but we do understand that this very well could be a possibility.
For you today, Alex.
Thank you. Reuters has reported that about.
If this is true, this is really bad for the United States. This is bad for image, for morale, for everything.
50 U.S. Service members have been
150.
So far. Can you confirm that number and elaborate on that?
I can't confirm the exact number. I know it's within that ballpark, but I would defer you to the Pentagon.
So it was 7 U.S. soldiers who were killed. Now it's 150, or somewhere around that ballpark, in her words.
For a specific number of wounded or injured.
Caroline Levitt.
For you today. Alex.
Oh,
Thank you.
not going to be great.
This
is so not good.
150 US
there needs to be
so
accountability for this. Ultimately, at the end of the day, Christian actress Candace Cameron Bure says she was invited to a party with a friend and showed up to find an underground demonic sex party. I thought, oh, this is a person's friend, and I'm going to be cool and do this. I went to the party, and it ended up being an underground party that was a sex thing that was so dark and demonic, end quote. We walked in, and my eyeballs were popping out of my head because I saw stuff I've never seen before in my life. Again, end quote. That came from Candace Cameron, the Full House lady. So let's listen to her. Let's sort of talking about some Epstein, P. Diddy stuff.
And it ended up being this underground.
So this is real. Okay, maybe some of you guys in the audience have seen Eyes Wide Shut. Well, Eyes Wide Shut was a documentary. It wasn't just a film. And I had been saying this for years, but it's true. This is how things work in Hollywood, in the in the highest echelons of power.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for sharing your.
So this is your Full House lady, This is Full House. The lady from Full House.
Story, but have you seen that to be true of when you hang around certain people, you're like, oh, they kind of pull out maybe the worst of me or the best of me.
Of course. I mean, listen, I have some really weird, embarrassing moments, although I shouldn't say embarrassing. For me, they were more shameful of going to places where I thought oh, this person's a friend and I'm going to be cool and do this. And I went to a party once with Val because we were married, and it ended up being this underground party that was an S&M like sex thing.
Bingo, that's
that
Hollywood.
was so
Eyes wide
dark
shut.
and demonic. And we walked in, and my eyeballs were popping out of my head because I saw stuff I've never seen before in my life. And I'm looking
It's all
at
real.
Val going like, how are we here? What is happening? And the one person that invited us, but we made a
You went to a Diddy party.
hard U-turn, and walked right out of there, and it just was like so slimy and weird. And I was like,
See, I don't know if I believe anybody when they say that anymore, because that's what Howard Lutnick said. That's what Lutnick said. He's like, I only met Epstein once, so I don't know.
We're going to pause before we ever say yes to going out with that friend again.
This is why people are over-socialized and people need to be less social. This is why talking to people and going to parties is stupid.
Just had no idea.
Those are the
what
lowest
we were
IQ
walking
people.
into, and it was
Because you're
so-
surrounded by that. You're surrounded by crap. You're surrounded by propaganda and Satan worshipers, apparently, right? Like, I've been to parties, when I was young, had fun, but it's like, dude, I don't want to be a part of any club. I just don't, because that's what happens. Again, to the next story, breaking BBC correspondent reporting live from Gaza says Israel used white phosphorus. So this is a really huge story because white phosphorus essentially burns the skin, and essentially it goes right to the bone. It's extremely dangerous because it's extremely evil. And so they're spraying this in the air over Lebanon, okay? And so when this guy tried to report about it, basically silence. And so this is a war crime. This is even, again, in the Geneva Convention, right? If you know anything about World War II, you remember the Geneva Convention, you learned all about it. Well, it's Jewish run, right? The Jews own that. They kind of coordinated that entire Geneva Convention. And so one of their own rules to all of this was that part of the Geneva Convention was that you couldn't do things like this, like dropping phosphorus bombs, basically melting people alive. Okay, I know it's disturbing, but that's the truth of what's happening. That's what this technology really does. That's what this military stuff really does. And people don't want to admit that this is real. So very, very scary stuff. Got to be careful. Again, here's a little bit on Jake Lang. I wanted to play this just because Jake Lang, I was moved by Jake Lang a little bit and some of his message in the beginning when he was really starting to protest with January 6th. But the reason I wanted to play this video is because it reveals who Jake is, really. And it reminds you, because what happened and why was a nail bomb thrown at this guy? Well, he was going and provoking all of this stuff in New York. I mean, he was provoking, calling these people. He was going out of his way to cause all of this crap. And doing it under the identity of a white nationalist, doing it under the identity of a white person, a white Christian. Okay, so what's interesting about this is that you understand he's Jewish here. What's that about? That doesn't really make sense. Why is he wearing all of this? So let's take a look at this video and let's see kind of what this is really breaking down here, because I think this is important for people to watch.
I'm sure you all remember Jake Lang, who is the Jew pretending to be hardcore Christian to cause divide between Christians and Muslims. Well, something interesting took a turn for our boy Jake Lang here, and no surprise, to be honest, based on what I know of him, but he was recently just busted talking to an underage girl. It was a decoy that was set up to catch predators.
Look at that.
It says, "I'm 15, LOL." Jake then says, "When do you turn 16? Keep in mind, Jake Lang is
What is with today's generation and being attracted to children? That's disgusting. That's absolutely evil and vile. Like, how?
30 years old. The
Where?
decoy replies,
How
"In
does that
6
even work?
months, I won't get you in trouble if that's what you're worried about. I can keep a secret." Jake replies, "What state do you live in? I can't see you till you're 16. He pretends to be Christian when he is
Not
in
a good look.
fact Jewish. He brags about his sister serving in the IDF. He has been to the wall and kissed the wall over in Israel. He is causing divide and conflict, a very common practice by a certain group of people. And it comes as no surprise that he would
Provocatorship.
also be interested in underage girls.
Okay, so with that being said, everybody's innocent until proven guilty. We don't
Sure, you all
know if
remember
that was
Jake.
a setup. We obviously don't know if Jake, who knows what the story is. But what we do know is that Jake Lang is Jewish. And so nothing wrong with that at all. But if we're talking about the political wars here in geopolitics and how this kind of coincides in the theological war and how this matters with Christianity versus Judaism versus Islam, and it kind of makes sense how these things connect. Why he's doing what he's doing. Is he trying to give the white Christian nationalist a bad name? So again, authorities are responding to a hazmat incident at Disneyland Park after an unknown odor was detected backstage near Tomorrowland attraction Star Tours. The adventures continue. At least 5 cast members have been hospitalized, and emergency crews are currently investigating the source of the odor. Weird stuff's going on. I kind of believe that that's probably retaliatory strikes and a lot of that.
On the war, just confirmed to me it's totally incoherent.
Yeah, so Chris Murphy just walked out of the closed-door briefing on Iran and says the plan was so incoherent, it's obvious that Trump administration won't achieve any of their stated objectives.
We have still not yet heard a full explanation as to why this is necessary. We still have had no hearings in front of Congress that the public can see, and I think that's pretty simple, because if the president did what the Constitution says, come to Congress to get authorization for this war, he wouldn't.
And he should. He should. I mean, I know our Congress is full of a bunch of Democrats, but we're in a position now where geopolitically, militarily, we really can't win at this point. Unless, I mean, we can, but we're going to have to like wipe them off the map with nuclear warfare. And that's the issue here, is that it's like, are we really going to take it to that place?
Demand that their member of Congress,
I sure hope not,
senator,
obviously.
whether they be a Republican or Democrat, vote no, because this is a disaster of epic proportions. It's already getting Americans killed. It's driving up prices here at home. Harder line leadership, more antithetical to U.S. interests, are strengthening inside Iran. And there's really no way that we're going to be able to destroy their nuclear program, because most of it is buried underground, unless we mount a ground invasion, which would be even more disastrous and more.
And they're only going to spend a bunch of special ops units in there, and they're going to get slaughtered. We can't do it.
And we're going to use whatever leverage we have in the Senate to try to prompt those hearings, to try to prompt that vote, and to get this administration to start paying attention to the Constitution.
Yeah, and I definitely think Trump does need to start doing that. Man set himself on fire on a bus in Curzon, Switzerland, leaving multiple people dead and injured. Wonder who that was who did it. Was it an illegal immigrant? Was it a regular native of Switzerland? Who knows? But this is happening everywhere around Europe. There's really no place safe to go anymore because of, again, we don't know exactly who is to blame for this, at least according to this. We can look real quick. As we're looking at Grok, I guess I'll kind of fact check as I'm here. I always like to tell people there's no use in wondering about things. You need to look things up. And so since we're live streaming, I might as well just look it up. A postal bus caught fire in central Curzon, Switzerland, March 10th, 2026, prompting a rapid emergency response as confirmed by local media. Initial reports indicate flames engulfed the vehicle mid-village, but the official causes remained unstated. Eyewitnesses' claims circulated on X describe a man doused himself with an accelerant and igniting inside a bus, leading to unverified reports of 6 deaths and 5 injured. Though Swiss authorities have not corroborated these details or motives, thread replies quickly pivot to unsubstantiated assumptions of Islamist terrorism, reflecting broader patterns of rapid online speculation during European breaking news events, despite no evidence linking the incident to geopolitics. Yeah, so there's your AI answer, right? That's your AI answer, but that's still pretty much the facts. I mean, the comment section. Let's take a look at what people are saying here. You know, what are the comments saying? Let me guess, he was a local white native born cis male. Let me guess, he yelled Aloha snack bar first. Oh my God. The comments on X are just motives unknown as usual, I guess. Yeah. Totally what you're going to get from Grok. You're going to get all these typical responses. Evening March 10th, a Postado Swiss post bus caught fire in the center of Curzon around 1825 local time. Yeah, we already read that. Yeah, so nothing really on who actually did it, right? Who was the culprit? To me, this looks like a suicide bombing, personally. I think it's obvious that this was a suicide bombing. And again, this comes straight from open source intel. So that's kind of what I think. And you're seeing that. That is the behavior of the jihad. That is jihad, raising jihad on the white Christian, or just the Christian in general, or just the infidel, anyone who is not Muslim, right? Okay, some more statements from Chuck Schumer also. Says the Save America Act will allow ICE to kick tens of millions of people off the voter rolls. Schumer just openly admitted voter rolls are plagued with illegals. Yeah, and well, that's because they're importing the voters. You know, I think that's what I really think is obviously happening.
Purging them,
So I think, again, the reason the Democrats want so many of these illegal immigrants coming in, the reason you're seeing this in Europe is for the same exact reason. It's really for voters. It's for elections.
Voter registration. It allows.
There's a plethora of different economic reasons, too.
To kick
but
tens of
not
millions
good.
of people off the rolls, and they don't tell them until election day, and you show up and you say,
Yeah, we need more people to get out of America, though. Like, we have a mass migration crisis in this country and in Europe, though. So Chuck Schumer's a little crazy.
You're not registered anymore. You're not registered here. You're not on the rolls. And they say, I didn't know that. This is a bill that destroys the country, and it is not.
No, it doesn't. Opposite.
Showing ID when you show up to vote.
Helps the country.
Voter registration rolls, destroying them, purging them, not letting people know, and taking the rights in a algorithm put together by ICE.
Oh, come on. ICE put together the algorithm. ICE was sitting there, computer engineering and being a nerdy software engineer like myself. That's what ICE was doing? Okay. ICE was out there creating the algorithm.
It's an outrage, and that's why so many people don't want to pass it.
That's ridiculous. This guy, like, again, by the way, he's an Israel firster. He's made statements that he believes he is sent by God to defend Israel. Not even kidding. Well, if you wanted, I could pull up the footage. You could pull it up yourself on Twitter X. Hezbollah bombs Israeli military sites in Erib. So right here, right where my cursor is. Yep. So again, that was just some of that footage. That was 5 hours ago. So the war is ongoing. Again, it's intense. The footage I've been seeing on X is insane. We remember Israel did this on live stream. I won't make it live. It's like super loud and there's like a dude screaming in it. So I'm not going to play the video, or I'm not going to play the audio on it. But look at that. Look at this mushroom cloud. That's insane. You know, that's the damage. That's war. That's what's happening. Past 30 minutes have been wild. U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright posted that a U.S. ship had officially gone through the Strait of Hormuz. Markets loved it. Oil tanked. The idea of war was coming to an end. And then, basically, everything changed, right? That was pretty crazy. So, yeah, you're seeing Trump doing a lot of this, right? He's the president. Any statements he makes are big statements. So when he says that, don't worry, we're going to end this war, then it's going to be good for oil, going to be good for the markets. If he says we're going to keep this war going, then those oil prices are going to really start jacking up. So based on what the president is saying, he can easily manipulate and shift these markets. It's kind of how World Libertyfy became an asset. That's why Trump coin worked, right? These things matter. Economic statements like Trump is making is shifting and changing the markets over time, like in real time.
Had a chance to talk to the Energy Secretary about it directly. However, I know the post was taken down pretty quickly, and I can confirm that the U.S. Navy has not escorted a tanker or a vessel at this time, though, of course, that's an option.
Yeah, and that's because Iran basically put like 4,000, 5,000 different water mines in that area, which it's like, I can't really blame them, Again, we struck first, the United States and Israel.
Yes, I was made aware of this post. I haven't.
So that was Caroline Leavitt again. She's been covering a lot of that, or not covering it, but she's been responding to a lot of that story. Wanted to play this too as well. I think it's important to notice that the Generation Z woman with 3 jobs breaks down on camera. I don't even want to be alive anymore. I still can't afford to live. So I think this is a lot of Americans. I don't think that this is just her either. And I say this as an entrepreneur. I say this as a realtor. I had to start my own business because, this is a real problem in America. And so I did want to play this video real quick. And she's talking about how she's being evicted, but she's got like 3 different jobs, right? So it's pretty insane to think about how many Americans are going through the same thing.
And I understand that that's a very, very heavy sentence. And no, that does not mean that I'm trying to end my life. That does not mean that I have any plans or intentions to end my life, because I don't. But I would be lying to myself.
What she's saying is there's basically no point in working at a job today because you're not getting paid enough for it. We're at war with Iran. Our country's run by pedophiles. It's like, why work? It's like, why go to 3 different jobs? What is the point really? How does it benefit one's life? That's what she's kind of saying.
I don't. Being alive is expensive, and I feel like
nobody should kill themselves either. Never.
What is the point of
not saying that. It's like at the end of the day, this just goes to show this is the sentiment, the emotion of the average American. Because of this war and these unnecessary wars that we're fighting, this really encapsulates the average American and what a lot of Americans are probably going through.
Period. I got the red notice on my door yesterday, And it has really brought forward this, I don't know, this like sense of heaviness, this breakdown that I've been having all week, especially because this weekend is one of my busiest weeks for work. I go to two out of my 3 jobs today. Not today, but
like nobody should have to work 3 jobs. Like you shouldn't have to work 3 jobs. You know, we need a government, a system of capitalism again, of entrepreneurship, where we can all own a business, where it actually is incentivized to own a business, so we can actually make money work for us. You make money work for you, right? It should be easier to gain access to real estate, multifamily real estate, all these things that could make this girl rich, that could make America rich, you know?
And then
This is a big problem in America today.
Get a couple hours of sleep. I'll go to one of my jobs, and then once I clock out of that job, I'll be going straight to another overnight shift. And then on Monday and Tuesday,
horrible.
I'm just working all morning. I know that makes no fucking sense.
It doesn't.
Or like, I'm sorry if that's like...
It ain't fair. It's just not right. None of this makes sense. It's not fair. This is why there is such resistance to the system. And I think this is so many more Americans than people are willing to admit. Everybody wants to be fake on Facebook. Everybody wants to be fake on social media. They want to pretend like everything's perfect, like their job is great. They want to get up the corporate ladder. And it's like, this is how most of these people are really feeling.
It's just like a whole lot of work and a whole lot of
And it
hours.
sucks.
And like, I hardly want to go because it's like so clear that like I can't even obviously like cover my fucking necessities. And
I mean, if you are a nurse, you should be making some pretty good money. I mean, I don't know if she's a nurse or not. It looks like she's a nurse. I mean, you should be making enough money if you're a nurse. You're making like 90 grand a year as a nurse. So I really don't want to hear how you're not making enough money at the same time.
somehow by Monday.
Like, that's a problem. At the same time, it's like a job is a means to an end. A job's a means to an end. You need to use that job. You need to capitalize on building businesses with it at the same time.
I gotta pay $1,918.80. And it would take a literal miracle for me to get that. And I suppose that and the part about it that really blows my mind is that I live in one of the poorest states in the country. I live in one of the poorest states in America. And in one of the poorest states in the US, the cost of living somehow is unsustainable working 3 jobs. As I've said before, none of my jobs provide me benefits.
Yeah, no jobs do anymore. That's the joke. They get you working at a job, so you end up working and wanting to get all these benefits, and you sign up for the benefits, and you get really excited, and then you go and you go to the hospital, and then you go and sign up for your medical insurance or however it works, and then you get scammed. You're scammed, and it ends up costing you more money.
Considered a part-timer that's put on schedule due to understaffing and being worked to death.
Saving that money. That's what your CEO's thinking. They're saving money.
I don't get access to health insurance. I don't get access to PTO. I don't get access.
This is the United States of America, and this is the state of the country we're living in. It's like, who else is sick of this? It's like, we can do better than this. We are the greatest country on earth, and I believe we can be. We used to be, and we can be that again, but not with an economy like this,
I just show
ever.
up because otherwise, if I don't, then I make nothing. But that seems pointless because I show up every day, and I'm still... I know everybody is one missed paycheck from being homeless. I don't even know.
I think that's a lot of people, like I said.
Missing I cannot wrap my mind around how I work 3 jobs. I work 6 days a week primarily.
And she looks like about my age. I'm 27 years old. She looks like my age. She should be having children. She should be having kids. And it's like, nope, can't have kids. Nope, can't afford it. Nope, you got to go to your other 3 jobs. It's like, that's insane. This is the consequences of a tyrannical government. This is the consequences of living under a government, and again, I'm not somebody who believes in government benefits either. I'm saying that the government has set up a system of which there is no room for capitalism, which is what I find important. I'm a huge fan of capitalism. I'm a fan of people being able to start a business and being able to make money on their own, being their own bank. This is the future of America, stakeholdership economy. As Klaus Schwab said, I believe that's very much a reality. But at the same time, it's like, we need 500,000 electrician jobs, blue-collar jobs. None of them are getting fulfilled by AI. It's like, that's a whole market. You know, I've thought about it myself. And it's just like, you know, when you look at this, it's like we should be able to start businesses over having to slave at these jobs. We got to be able to start these businesses. Again, she's not able to do that.
Still can't cover my necessity. Like
You're probably bad at saving money too. Let's be honest. I mean, like most people are really bad with money. And again, I'm still defending her, but like,
it's not your fault.
If you're a nurse, like how are you not making money? Like I would die for 90 grand a year. I could make that work.
It's not your fault. It's the system.
Consistently to show up to work, man, dude, I could make that. That would be great.
I can't bring that to my property manager and say,
this is true.
It's the system that's fucking me up. Sorry, I work 3 jobs. I literally can't. Like they don't give a shit about that, right? And I'm just.
Yeah, isn't that annoying? You know, you got a problem with your money, you call the banks, you call whoever, and it's some person who couldn't give a shit less, and they barely listen to you. They laugh, they chuckle on the phone. They really don't even know what they're doing. They're highly incompetent people, and they're just like going to work. And just like this girl is going to work, right? These people talk to you on the phone. You're like in a crisis. You're trying to figure out something with your bank or whatever the problem is, and they just, and they just don't even care. You know, they give you like a Tucker Carlson laugh and they just don't even care. You know, it's just like, this is really the reality of what we live in. This is the reality of living in a socialist government. This is the consequences of socialism. And people might say and argue, oh, this is the consequences of capitalism. And it's like, actually, no. You know, this over a long period of time, America has been a socialist government. So because of that, that's why nobody has money. Nobody has money. And guess who gets all the money? All the criminals, all the people who don't work, all the people who are unemployed. It's ridiculous. Like this, I wanted to save this. Patriotism is making a huge comeback with the youth. Absolutely love it. I do. It's good to see. We should see more. Everybody should have American flags all over their town, all over their hometown. Everybody should have the American flags everywhere in their hometowns. I want to see more of this. I want to see this again. Love it. I love it. Yes, please, more. America. America first. That's what it is. That's what it looks like. That's what it is. So this is Thomas Massie, a very interesting clip here. You guys will like this. Representative Thomas Massie says Trump called him on the House floor and pushed to release the Epstein files. Trump told him 3 times, I'm coming at you like you've never seen in your life. I thought this video was pretty crazy. So Thomas Massie, Trump's been really going after Massie for one reason, and it's because Massie has been trying to uncover the Epstein files, been trying to release all of the information on that. Because he's been taking nothing but heat from the Republicans. So let's watch this.
You know, you've heard me say this before.
This is a crazy story.
3 times while I was on the floor of the House. I let it go to voicemail 3 times. I didn't have him in my phone. Technically, I didn't know it was him, but it was all zeros, you know, like, right. And I figured
that's so weird.
Only one person can get a phone number with all zeros. So I did call the White House back, and they put Trump on the line, and he said, I'm coming at you like you've never seen.
The impression is fire. Thomas Massie's impression of Trump is fire.
Never in your life before have you seen the way in which I will come at you. I'm more popular than you in Kentucky, and you know it. I'm backing your primary opponent, and you're gonna lose.
Damn, it's on point.
Then I tried to talk to him about the Constitution and that it required us to vote, and he started screaming at me for 3 minutes, and then he repeated everything again, and hung up on me.
That's insane. So the president was calling this guy in Congress while he was like trying to testify on the situation of Iran and all of this.
Are used.
Another good clip. I like Douglas McGregor. I recommend him to anybody really trying to follow geopolitical updates. He has some pretty decent ones, along with Scott Ritter. They have some really great geopolitical takes. I like to listen to them myself to educate myself, but this was still a pretty good clip. Again, Douglas McGregor. This is what he had posted.
Once again, do you think it's possible that nuclear weapons are used?
If a nuclear weapon is used, it will be by Netanyahu and his government, not us.
Yeah, 100%.
Israel is different, as we've discussed. And the more desperate they become, if Iran does not submit, and I see no evidence that they will submit, the more likely that option could be embraced and employed. And that's why we started this, because you asked specifically about who has the authority. I hope President Trump does, but I don't think so. I think
Agreed.
Mr. Netanyahu is going to do whatever Mr. Netanyahu wants to do.
Once again,
he's
do
alive,
you
though.
think it's
We've heard that there's rumors that he could have been killed. Again, he did make a statement recently. Apparently, some people were saying the video was AI. I didn't really save it. I may have saved it actually somewhere in here. Maybe we'll get to it. Breaking Alex Barnicoat, one of his updates. He's been really, I think this is the #1 guy for covering the Israel issue and things that are happening in Israel, Iran with the war. He's got some great analysis. Let's take a look at this video.
On America.
Hold on.
Is the extent of the
Get our volume up here. Just glitching out a little bit. 1 second.
showing the before and after of the American Naval 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain. It's completely destroyed. But as well as that, another image. Some breaking news. Iran just released satellite pictures of American military bases after they were blown up by Iranian missiles. And the US has been embarrassed here like nothing we've seen before. And not only does this show that Iran is spying on the US and they're capable of getting satellite pictures on American military bases, but it also shows the extent of the damage. As I'm showing you now, this is the image that Iran released, showing the before and after of the American Naval 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain. It's completely destroyed. But as well as that, another image that Iran released showed the American airbase in Jordan being destroyed by probably an Iranian drone. The extent of the damage here is not as much, but still Iran has taken satellite pictures of it and showed it to the rest of the world. However, the images Iran has released of Kuwait show something very different, and the American airbase there was completely blown to pieces. These are actually jet fuel tanks where America was storing their fuel for their aircraft.
Again, they've been trying to ban this kid for a few weeks now.
Iran blew them to pieces.
I like to follow the people who are commonly being people are trying to ban them because their information is so good.
These satellite pictures. Now, Iran does have the capability to get their own satellite pictures. They have their own rocket program, and they also use Russia sometimes to send up Iranian satellites. And so it's not a surprise that Iran can get satellite pictures, but it is surprising how much damage Iran has caused to the US. This stuff here shows Iran is hitting America more than America is admitting, and that's something to focus on. The US is still maintaining the fact that they're not taking that much damage, when in reality, they're taking quite a bit. Of course, news like this, people are going to be afraid to tell you, but I'm not. So leave me a follow because I'm covering stuff that you're not going to find anywhere.
Yeah, follow his account, Alex Barnicoat. Great account for news, fast information on the Iran-Israel conflict. Al-Qaeda enters the conflict on the side of Israel against Hezbollah. Are you getting it yet? This is what Harrison Smith said. Yeah, totally. Why is Al-Qaeda backing Israel? That should tell you everything you need to know. You know, seriously think about that. You have to understand that these Muslims, there's so many different sects of them, and there's different kinds of Muslims. There's different religions. Within the Muslim religions, there's different sects. And there's groups that even a lot of these countries, like Saudi Arabia, they don't even, like in Europe, you have a lot of these Muslims who are like more radicalized, more violent, a little bit more lower IQ. And a lot of these people are sent over to Europe and America and Germany and basically all these countries, continents, and they're pretty much raising hell and they're causing crimes like at record numbers. But again, you have to also understand that they're being taken out of these war zones that we're creating with the state of Israel, and they're coming to our countries as refugees. So we keep bombing them and attacking them, and then they're coming to our countries. Like, what are they supposed to do? You know, and it's like, well, now we have to like defend ourselves, obviously, as Americans. We're not going to just like lay down and kneel for these people when they come over to our country. But it's important to know. Al-Qaeda is backing Israel. What does that tell you? Who are the good guys and who are the bad guys here? And it's like, really, nobody's the good guys when you look at who's fighting who. You know, the good people, the good guys are the people who are trying to get the peacemakers, obviously, right? So Sean Ryan astounded after 22-year-old CEO Ethan Thornton of March Industries, a defense tech startup, tells him he will give a miniature fighter jet. The Viper is a 6.5-foot takeoff miniature fighter jet that can take off and land if needed. It reportedly costs under $100,000 per unit, can reach speeds of up to 600 miles per hour, and has a range of several hundred miles. So pretty cool. Let's watch this video. Lots of powerful military tech coming out. And this is kind of where we're going in the future. This is what gets me excited in the morning. I like thinking about the future tech, the future military stuff that we're actually using, right? This is what interests me. So let's take a look at this. Pretty cool.
So one is Viper. It's about a 6.5 foot long vertical takeoff, kind of miniature fighter jet. And so the job of Viper is to do everything a fighter jet would do as best as can be done, while being cheap enough to mass manufacture, like cheap enough to seriously go and make a million.
Yeah, that's going to be the trick, because Iran can, through attrition, they can basically mass produce all of these, kamikaze drones, whatever you want to call it, and similar things as this. They can mass produce them. So the real key when it comes to American innovation, and any entrepreneurs listening, we need to have facilities where we can mass produce this stuff. Also, obviously to defend ourselves, because now we're spending all of our military tech and we're using it all on Iran, which, how stupid and dumb. China's been tracking every bit of military movements and all of it. They know everything. And so we need more of this kind of stuff in the future, for sure.
And then be runway independent.
Especially with the future we're coming into. I mean, obviously, we don't want to go to war. We don't want war. But at the same time, we need to be advancing at all times.
Several 100-mile range, several hundred miles, like 600 miles an hour, can go and get up to these high altitudes, but only cost $100,000. And you and I could take it out of a Pelican case here and launch it with no ground infrastructure. And so Army's super excited about Viper or a bunch of folks are for surface to surface, but then that same aircraft you can take and go do surface to air. And so that's Viper. And then
I love that.
So hold on. So is Viper, I mean, does it carry a payload, or is it the payload?
Right now it is the payload.
It is the payload.
That's not necessarily true of future versions of Viper.
Okay.
So the other thing we do with our products is every 6 months or so, I'm trying to get that down, but they're hard products to engineer. We try to completely re-architect the product. And so the current version of Viper, few 100-mile range, purely surface to surface. And I shouldn't talk too much about future, but like eventually you're dropping payloads. Eventually you're coming in and landing vertically and doing all these different things. But you're doing that at a price point that's like 10 times less than a current air-to-air missile.
And that's the issue. That's another problem with America and our country now, is that everything is so expensive. We can't mass produce a lot of this military tech the way that our enemies can. Because of our enemies, they can basically mass produce stuff with their own currencies and at a very large rate. And they really do it without our approval, obviously. I mean, it's not like they need it. And so when everything that we do here is so expensive because we're the greatest empire, I mean, we are America, because of how expensive everything is in America, now we can't mass produce all of this stuff and other countries can. So it actually puts us at a bit of a disadvantage in this way.
So that's a fun one. We've been flying that one for about a year now.
We could use a couple of those here.
You want one?
Yeah.
Fuck
yeah, I want one.
I'll get you a
I want
Viper.
one too.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck
Yeah.
yes.
I'm guessing no warhead in the Viper. But I'll get you.
We'll take some more heads
This
too.
would be awesome.
I might get that run in with the ATF. If it's
There you go. Yeah, I'll get you a Viper. 100%.
My girlfriend needs to get me this for Christmas.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
For sure.
Yes.
The composite, the manufacturing guys are going to be so excited building that Viper.
No shit?
Yeah, they're
Dude,
gonna
you got to
watch
come
this.
back. You got to come back.
Yeah, he just
Gotta
went
come
shooting
back.
with Sean Ryan.
100%.
He just went shooting with him. So, also another big story I wanted to cover. Let's talk about Erika Kirk. Nobody else finds it majorly sus that Erika Kirk lied her way into Charlie's life, and within 6 months of his death has taken over his entire organization, has now been given power to influence operations and curriculum of one of the top U.S. military academies. So this is important. I want everybody to really focus on this. This is pretty crazy. Listen to this story about Erika Kirk. Maybe you already know, maybe you've already seen it, but I thought this was interesting.
Erika Kirk has just been appointed to the Air Force Academy Board by President Donald Trump.
That's very interesting.
I thought it was a joke at first until it was confirmed by multiple news outlets this morning. Now, what is this role? The Air Force Academy Board of Visitors is a group established to review and make recommendations regarding the morale, curriculum, and other important aspects of the United States Air Force Academy. It consists of members appointed by the president and congressional leaders, and it plays a key role in overseeing the Academy's operations and ensuring it meets its educational and military goals. Now, I know what you might be thinking. How in the world is this woman even possibly qualified for the job, other than by virtue, of course, of being Charlie Kirk's wife, now widow? Now, according to her LinkedIn, she claims to have a Doctor of Education and a Juris Master's degree from Liberty University, graduating summa cum laude. But the internet does what it does, and once again, as it often is with Erika, there seems to be something not right about this. Take a listen to Baron Coleman here.
The way you would try to find if somebody had the degree they claim to have. First thing you do is go and see, do they
Is there a portal where we can look and see people who graduated in given years? Well, she said she graduated in the year 2022. Her name was either Franz Bayer Kirk, so we can look them up both ways here. This is all the people. No Franz Bays in 2022 in Liberty University. We'll try Kirk.
So we're looking into Erika Kirk, and essentially when she said she graduated.
So then you start to think, well, maybe a different year? Well, trust me, we went all through all the years.
Interesting. And also, this website just popped up.
A lot of new info coming out on Erika Kirk, but it's worth... Listen, Charlie Kirk was a hero for American truth, and I love Charlie Kirk. I love Erika Kirk in some ways, but at the end of the day, it's like, not after this, not after what we know now. It's like, what? That was like just too weird, man. The crocodile tears, the fake little tissues, like, what is that even about? What is that even about? So Israel is falling apart. BBC from Tel Aviv, partial lockdown, streets are empty. Again, this was 5 hours ago. Follow Adam Media, Adam A Media. So he posts some pretty good stuff. Partial lockdown, streets are empty, shops are closed. This situation is becoming unbearable for the population. Even Hezbollah missiles are hitting without the sirens going off, unprecedented. So it looks like the Iron Dome has not been holding up so well in Tel Aviv. Sorry, there's no subtitles. I'm not going to play this. There's no subtitles. If there were subtitles, maybe I'd play it. Sorry, we're glitching now. We're glitching out. Okay, there we go. Jeez. It's so annoying. So again, just a little bit of scenes from the war. Trump and Israel killed this child's mother today, and Mershar, Iran, dropping a bomb on their home in the middle of the night. We don't know if a lot of this is propaganda. The reason I bookmarked this is because you have to understand that when you're seeing these videos on social media, whether it's Twitter X, whether it's anything, you have to understand that everything is a psyop. When you enter Twitter X, when you enter social media, that is the Matrix. You're entering the Matrix. You're entering the simulated universe of all these different stories and all these different worlds that are happening. Okay, and then it can also affect your life. So it's so weird. But those are all the things that are happening. And again, those are some of the videos. This was interesting. Video from Sneeko. You guys can go check that out in your own time. We watched a little bit of that. I think this was a clip from earlier. Here we go. This is a different clip, though. So we'll watch this. It's just a minute, 24 seconds.
The question was on the amount being spent in Iran and on the military. Okay, well, 900 million in a day is a significant number, but fortunately, a lot of us in anticipation
$900 million
to upgrade our national security capabilities last summer, as part of the Working Families Tax Cuts Act, put significant increase in funding for defense, and so I think we are well positioned. If you listen to our military.
So because they tax the shit out of you, basically they have more money for the war. It's like, is that what's next?
If we get an opportunity on a regular basis to get briefed by General Kane and others, and I think we are in a good place in achieving an objective that frankly is long overdue. I mean, I think this is something that is generational in terms of its impact, and not only for that region, but for the entire world, because they continued, Iran, to be the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world.
That's false. That's Israel.
They are on their way to a nuclear capability, and they're holding that entire region hostage.
Israel is doing that.
And American interests as well. So I think this was an important...
Everything they say about Iran, say it every night, is what they're saying about Israel. When they're talking about Iran, that's Israel.
This is an important mission to accomplish, and hopefully it'll be accomplished soon.
Thank you all. Senator Brett, what's your concern about it?
I love how they just walk away. Look how they just don't care. Like, they really could care less. They could not care less. Transgender Laverne Cox guest on MSNBC. We need to stop anti-Semitism in order to protect transgenders because Jews invented transgenderism.
They burned Magnus Hirschfeld's. And there's been a rise in anti-Semitism all over the country right now, and it's disgusting and it's horrible. People should know that one of the first things that the Nazis did, and I think it was in 1933, was they burned Magnus Hirschfeld's.
Why do we have to listen to this? Why do we have to listen to these people? Like, you don't even know which gender you are. You can't make up your mind, and we have to sit here and listen to you on mainstream media. No, we don't. But I'm playing it to make an example of these people.
sexuality.
Like,
Magnus Hirschfeld was studying trans people, LGBTQ people. Lily Elby, who the Danish Girl, the film Danish Girl was about, she had her first gender-affirming procedure at Magnus Hirschfeld's clinic. The Nazis burned it down. All of this research. And there were...
is that a bad thing that the Nazis were burning books on transgenderism? Is it a bad thing that the Nazis were burning books on, mutilation of a child so that they could go from a boy to a girl? Is that really a bad thing that we were banning those books? Is it a bad thing that basically pornography was completely outlawed in Germany during those days? Is that a bad thing? I don't think it's a bad thing. I think the country and America would be a stronger country if we were to ban those things. And then it becomes the Larry Flynn case. Okay, there's the case law, the precedent, where everybody says, well, freedom of speech, freedom of press. We should be able to have porn, and we should be able to do all of this stuff because we could do whatever we want and say whatever we want. Yes, you can. But with that being said, it's a question of society that society has to answer. Do we want to live in a country that values morals and, laws that actually build the human being to become more than they are in a way that is the right way, man and woman, right? Marriage, those things, the real concepts of what a society is. Or are we going to live in a society where there is no real morale? We all just kind of do what we want, and every other country doesn't take us seriously. That's kind of my question. So I have a lot against this entire movement, because again, she's right. This transgender is correct in this case that the Jews did create transgenderism. This was created by the Jewish people. From what we know, according to the research now and according to a lot of studies, they're actually very proud of this. And so this is definitely a major problem. So incredible scene. Hundreds of strangers attended a funeral of a Tennessee veteran who passed away without any known family. To me, this is what America is all about. This is what America is. So we just watched a video of a transgender telling you how you need to live and how you need to do things. And then we have, again, hundreds of strangers attended the funeral of a Tennessee veteran who passed away without any known family. This video is America. No family, nobody. Look at that. That's total respect. Rightfully so. That's America to me. 100%. Absolutely. That is what this country should be. That kind of the respect that we have for our veterans and those things, that's what matters. The U.S. Consulate the U.S. Consulate of Toronto has been attacked. Reportedly, 2 men emerged from a car and began shooting at the building.
Ask that any Breaking news, Canadian police reporting that the U.S. Consulate in Toronto has been hit by gunfire. That's all the detail we have. Let's watch live.
I would also like to ask that any members of the public who may have some evidence, some dash cam footage, some video footage, anything that might be suspicious activity that could be connected to this, that they please.
They don't even have all that
to assist us with our investigation.
That's like the first thing you should gather.
Again, I will repeat: the suspect vehicle was a white Honda CR-V. There were 2 males, 2 individuals, that emerged and discharged the firearms. This is early in the investigation, and of course, as it unfolds and we're able to provide more information, we will surely do so.
Breaking news, Canadian.
Yeah, that's just. Yep, that happened today. President Trump responds after CBS News reported that Iran is taking steps to deploy mines through the shipping lane of the Strait of Hormuz. So this is what I was talking about earlier. CBS News reported that Iran has estimated 2,000 to 6,000 naval mines. So it's actually more than what I said. I said it was 4,000 to 5,000. It's actually 2,000 to 6,000 naval mines. If Iran put out as many mines as the Hormuz Strait, and we have no reports of them doing so, we want them removed immediately. Again, that's what Trump said on Truth Social. If for any reasons mines were placed and they are not removed forthwith, the military consequences to Iran will be at a level never before seen. If, on the other hand, they remove what they have placed, it will be a giant step in the right direction. Yeah, so this is kind of unclassified footage that's been released from the DoD and CENTCOM, really covering a lot of the strikes on Iran and their Navy. So, I don't know. It looks like a long war with Iran to me. I just don't really see signs of the war ending anytime soon. Axios reports White House has told House Republicans to stop talking about mass deportations. Yeah, they don't want to hear about that anymore. Why is that? because they're getting pressed on it, and they know that they're not going to be able to actually follow through with what they said they were going to do to their voters. Republicans are going to lose in 28 if they don't give the mass deportations to their voters. That's just plain and simple.
Understand that your entire
This is U.S. Ambassador Mike
Huckabee.
Huckabee. It's trying to explain. So this will be good. I wanted to save this again because this is a man who is so confused on what Christianity is. Okay, Mike Huckabee, he is the U.S. Ambassador for the United States on behalf of the state of Israel. Okay, and he demands that Christians understand they have a moral debt owed to the Jewish people. So this is what is believed with Judeo-Christianity. But as a Catholic, I'll tell you, this isn't true. This isn't true. You think Christ would be asking these individual men, hey, I want you to bomb Iran. I want you to make sure you take out the children. 195 kids, I want them dead. I don't think Christ or God would say that. You know, and we talk about the anointed ones. Who's anointed by God to make certain decisions, to lead during certain times? Well, to me, it's a question as to whether or not, you know, it's the people who are mentally sane, right? People who understand what actual Christianity is. These are what you call Zionist Christians. There's two kinds of Christians. There are Christians, Catholics, you know, the real, I believe Catholics really is the real Christendom religion. And then there is Protestant Christianity, which is kind of, in my opinion, it's like non-denominational. It's kind of less serious. And because of this, you have people like Mike Huckabee who claim that, oh, the Bible says that we need to support the state of Israel. But that's not what it says. It says those who are blessed by those who believe in Christ, who believe in the word of Christ, in Jesus Christ, in his crucifixion, in his rising from the cross, his resurrection. These things is what makes a Christian a Christian. Okay, Christ was the first Christian, hence the name Jesus Christ. So they say that Christ was a Jew, but then they scorn his name. The same people who killed Christ and condemned him to death. So it's like this whole story of, you know, Judeo-Christianity really is not, it doesn't exist. Okay, Christianity and Judaism are two different things, and they're actually quite opposite religions. So if you study the Catholic doctrines, this makes more sense. You study the Protestant Christianity doctrines of today's time, then it wouldn't make sense. You would be thinking like Mike Huckabee. But this is a religion, Christianity, which has been subverted over time. So let's take a listen.
I get asked all the time because I'm a Christian, and they say, well, why are you so supportive of the Jewish people? I said, you can be Jewish, you don't have to have anything to do with Christians, but you can't be a Christian and not understand that your entire faith is built on the foundation of Judaism.
See, that's not true.
Christians, we look at this
right
as
there. That's not true, and here's why. See, the religion of Christianity, they say, well, Christ was a Jew. He was a practicing Jew. Well, it's like, do we really know that for sure? Like, how do we know that? Who wrote the Bible? Well, it was the Pharisees, the same people that Christ was fighting against, the same people that Christ literally said, you know, you are the sons of Satan, the synagogue of Satan. You are of the synagogue of Satan. I'm not saying this. I'm just reporting what the Bible said. We're talking about this escatological issue. Okay, we're talking about the religions itself, all right? Religions of Christianity versus Judaism. And ultimately, when it comes down to it, that's just the truth of the matter, is that these are two completely different religions, okay? So Christians, no. There is no moral obligation that we have to repay the state of Israel. He's getting this from the Bible. He believes that, oh, well, the Bible says we need to bless Israel because those who bless Israel will be blessed and those who attack Israel will be attacked. It's like, that's not what it was ever meant to be interpreted as. Okay, that is not what it meant. Those who believe in the Christ, in the New Testament, the reason the New Testament was written was because of this reason right here, was for this. The New Testament, when Christ was crucified, that was the new age of Christianity. That was the new age of, you could even say, the Jew. And Jews were following Christ and became Christians. So all of this happened when Christ was alive. And to this day, we are fighting really the same people. Not the Jews, but we're fighting the Pharisees. And so that same kind of spirit, that same kind of mentality, this goes to the ancient times. If you don't study this issue, none of this really makes sense.
We must repay. And therefore, I don't understand anyone who says, I'm a Christian, but I don't really want to support the Jews. Well, how can you do that? But it is not the view of those of us who are what I would call biblical believers that accept that what the scripture says about the Jewish people. In Genesis 12, those who bless Israel.
Yeah, the Bible says that the Jews are like from the synagogue of Satan, though. Christ said that. That's according to the Christ. I'm not saying that. Again, we're covering what Mike Huckabee said, and we're covering why he's wrong on this issue, this spiritual, theological issue. This ethnocentricity of Judaism and Christianity, they are two completely separate things.
Be blessed. Those who curse Israel will be cursed. It gets pretty simple. I say
there's
a
that
miracle
verse
every day in this country. I get asked
So
all
this
the
is
time,
brainwashing. This is what it looks like. This is the incorrect version of Christianity. This is a first level, basic level of Christianity, and he just has everything wrong when it comes to the religion itself. So that is why he's basically Israel's toy, their dog. And that is how they see him. A goyim, a true goy, as they call any non-Jew. The nations. Iran just issued its unconditional terms for surrender. The U.S. and Israel will be required to accept for Iran to stop its retaliatory strikes, hand Netanyahu to ICC, withdraw to October 7th borders, cancel Trump's Gaza plan, lift all sanctions, return frozen funds, recognize Iran's nuclear rights, leave Lebanon, Syria, and Yemen, evacuate all U.S. bases from Arab soil. Trump must publicly apologize to Khamenei and compensate Iran for every sanction ever imposed. Otherwise, Iran looks forward to a long, drawn-out conflict. They will show off their new missiles and triple the payload of the older stock and new drones. So it doesn't, again, unless all of these terms are met, Iran basically says, no, we're not done yet. We're going to keep fighting. So again, here's some more of that footage of this specific story. We can only hope that it doesn't come to our homes. Ultimately, this is real. It's getting real. It's getting heavy. It's getting heated. Just in a bombshell revelation, U.S. intelligence has just confirmed the nightmare scenario. Iran is actively preparing to deploy thousands of naval mines, up to 6,000 of them. Again, we heard about that 4 hours ago. We'll see if that actually happens. Look at that. 4,000 to 6,000 mines they're going to place throughout that mine, allegedly. Glad I'm not in the U.S. military right now. Poor guys. Iranian metro worker turns himself into a human step so women can climb onto the platform to safely during U.S.-Israeli strikes. And again, I see this as more propaganda, more, trying to pull on those emotional heartstrings of the audience. So again, that's kind of the reason I like to bookmark those videos.
Iranian ballistic missile fire toward Tel Aviv.
This is Trey Yingst. He is Fox News' reporter and the war correspondent for the issues happening in Israel. He's kind of giving updates on that. This was 6 hours ago.
Right now we have incoming Iranian ballistic missile fire toward Tel Aviv. Israel's advanced missile defense systems are working right now to shoot down the incoming fire.
So they say. So they say. Dear Netanyahu, I understand why you would do anything in your power to destroy the Iranian regime. I understand why you would do anything in your power to destroy Hezbollah, but I will never understand or forget what you did in Gaza. So again, these videos are going viral today. That's Gaza. That was post-Gaza. Look at that. That could be America. That's what happens when you let people too close, when you let other nations too close, when you let other nations invade. And that's what happened. 1947. Look it up. The Palestinians took them in, and that's how they were repaid. Iran launches drone after drone at Israeli intel hub in Haifa. That's according to the Times of Iran news. War update, Western mainstream media and Israel don't want you to see. Iran is hitting Israel unbelievably hard. Bazan Group's power plant in Haifa. Israel is up in flames. Trump's team and advisors are now begging him to abandon this war as quickly as possible, or epic fury will turn into epic. I won't say it. The truth is coming out regardless of Israel's heavy censorship on their war damages. We are the media now. Then it was fact-checked. This video is from Yemen, not Israel, and it shows the aftermath of an Israeli airstrike on a power plant in early May 2025. So some of these that I bookmark are not fact-checked before I bookmark them. So again, community notes kind of do the work for us to help us out with that. David Schwartz, who is the CTO of XRP Ripple, he, in the meantime, looks like Ripple's making moves. Ripple's still winning. They're making moves. They're making deals. They're buying businesses.
Tokenized equities, stable coins. You want to see a lot of that. But then what we're going to look for is we're going to look for lending as another example. Like we want to see those things. But those things could, to some extent, just be using the ledger as like a database. What we want is them to use it as a sort of common pool of value. And so then
XRP is meant to be the next Visa. It's meant to be the next SWIFT banking system. Okay, so no more waiting 3 days for a payment. No more waiting 2 weeks for a payment. It's instant payments. 1,500 transactions per second, cross-border payment transactions. I mean, this is amazing technology, financial technology.
What you're going to start to look for is like, are people...
And you wonder what's happening with the Iran war. Why does it connect to cryptocurrency? Why does it all matter? Well, we're going to be in this war for a long time. Trump wants Greenland. Trump wants Venezuela. He wants Cuba. Really listen to what he's saying. With all of these costs, well, how are we going to pay for it with $37 trillion of debt? The only way this makes sense is if we were to write a crypto check, you know, and whether it's in Bitcoin or XRP or whatever. You need an on-demand utility token, which is specifically the RLUSD, the Ripple stablecoin.
Taking these tokenized treasuries and then deciding that they want exposure to a portfolio of loans, and so they're trading one for the other. And so the fact that the two are on the same system generates some value. So looking for that sort of cross-pollination. You know, when Ripple first did payments, we had to find companies in pairs, like someone sending and someone receiving, because otherwise you have a sender and there's nobody receiving, and then you got a receiver, there's nobody sending. Imagine if, like, on the internet, you had to bring, like, you had to bring the product and the customer. Like, the reason the internet is so great is because the customer's already there. And so we need the world where, like, I'm building this tokenized treasury thing, but the people who want to buy it are already there. I'm building this lending thing, but the people who are going to supply the capital are already there. So what we're looking for is that cross-pollination where it becomes a market, where you can say, I'm building this product on the XRP ledger because the people I want to reach are already there. That's what that cross-pollination.
And what does he mean by that? So I'll tell you, I actually hired somebody who lives in Bangladesh at one point, and I had to pay them. And guess how I paid them? Well, I wasn't able to pay them through PayPal or Venmo. I had to pay them through crypto. And so I had to pay them through XRP. And the beautiful thing about XRP is you can take XRP, if you're a Bangladeshian, you take that XRP and you convert it into your Bangladeshian coin. You know, and so that worked. I was able to pay my employees over oceans because of cryptocurrency, digital assets, instant payments, XRP. These are powerful technologies that every nation can use, actually, especially nations who are unfunded, nations who don't have money. Okay, this is a $1 trillion business for sure. Easy.
That's the real maturity.
That's the key.
It's going to be the new Bitcoin. It's going to be the real Bitcoin, in my opinion. It was always meant to be the real
that's
Bitcoin.
Part of what's missing right now is, like, we don't have a browser. We don't have an app store. We don't feel like it, like, and it can't just be the XRP ledger. Like, it has to be, everybody wants to solve this problem. Like, we want a great user experience. Well, browser's a great user experience. You just go to a website and it works. We don't have, that's the thing we're missing.
And that is pretty much what has already been built now. That's already what they're building right now as we speak. Congratulations to Ripple on surpassing $100 billion in processed payments. This is a strong signal of where global finance is heading. Proud to be a part of the XRPL ecosystem with MXI as we continue expanding global financial access. So $100 billion processed, 60-plus markets, 51 real-time rails, RLUSD at $1 billion market cap in under just a year. Under a year. And pretty much they've literally less than a year since they've pretty much won their lawsuit against the SEC. So that's very telling of where things are going. White House just announced an emergency press briefing at 2 p.m. Yeah, we watched some of those clips. We're kind of going backwards in time here. I thought this was kind of funny. Ask AI what's happening in the right now in the Middle East. I thought this was funny. AI is getting too good, right? I mean, it's amazing. It's pretty cool. Again, this is not real footage. This is AI, if you didn't know. But it's pretty sweet. Nice little production. Yeah, that seems about accurate. That seems about right. Yeah. 2026. 2026. Hope you're enjoying it. Going on, Sputnik, India. Iran just exposed a massive flaw in U.S. air defense, and it's embarrassing for the Gulf. So again, here are some of this footage. While the U.S. keeps selling billion-dollar toys to Gulf allies, Iran proved they're not invincible, says analyst Raul Wankheide of MP Idza. $300 million radar tied to the U.S. THAAD system in Jordan was destroyed. Advanced U.S. radar and sensor networks in Qatar, UAE, and other Gulf bases were also struck. This message is clear. Gaps in U.S. early warning and air defense coverage are now dangerously exposed. Yeah, and so again, just remember, last week, Iran was able to tap into Israel's their entire Iron Dome. And basically the Iron Dome was returning to sender after this hack. It was returning the munitions back to the land of Tel Aviv where these missiles were coming from. So it's shooting up, and then these missiles were coming right back down onto Israel because the Iranians had hacked it, allegedly. Again, we don't know if that's a false flag. We don't know if a lot of this stuff is false flags. This is pretty big. We are definitely going to watch this one. This is of Ted Cruz, and he's basically commenting on Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes. So this is, again, Tucker Carlson just totally putting a target on the heads of Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes. Pretty striking words here. It's like America first or Israel first, Ted?
The most
I think he's obviously Israel first. He's made that very clear.
Tucker Carlson.
What?
I believe Tucker Carlson is the single most dangerous demagogue in this country.
Tucker Carlson? What a joke. Tucker. Everybody loves Tucker. Nobody's going to be against Tucker.
I've made the decision that I'm going to take him on head.
Look at the reactions of everybody else.
Directly.
Yeah, he didn't want to say head on twice. Listen to that.
If you look at take him on head directly.
I didn't want to take him head directly. Like what? You didn't want to say head on because you just said I'm going to take him head on.
Look at the dissent of Tucker Carlson, and they're all the sort of lesser chattering voices that are moons circling his twisted planet.
Like, why are you so anti-American, Ted Cruz?
But if you look at the dissent, it started about a year and a half ago.
Look at his face. Like, that is total hatred. Total hate in Ted's eyes here. Look at that face. That is like anger. That's pure anger. Look at that.
With platforming crackpot professors seeking to rewrite history. Seeking to rewrite history about World War II. So he has one idiot whom he describes as the most consequential popular historian in the country, who leans forward and intones that Winston Churchill was the villain of World War II.
He kind of was. He made a deal with the Rothschilds.
He then finds another crackpot professor who says there's a good argument that America should have sided with the Nazis in Germany in World War II.
Touchy subject.
And for all of this, Tucker gazes adoringly. By the way, no, there is not.
Tucker is not a white supremacist, and he's not a Nazi. The guy is like one of the most like nice guys you could probably deal with, whose father did work for the CIA. You know, it's like at the end of the day, it's like, come on.
Winston Churchill was an extraordinary historical figure. There's a reason Churchill's bust is on.
Yeah, but the reason Tucker was saying that was because Winston Churchill made a deal with the Rothschilds and basically allowed Palestine to be taken by the Israeli people. That is the issue.
My mantle.
That's why people were talking against Churchill.
If you come to my office, on the mantle there are 3 busts, one of Churchill, one of Reagan, and one of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. 3 extraordinary leaders who had vision. But it's not just there, it then descends. Look, Nick Fuentes.
Oh, here we go. The kid is my age. You're attacking a 27-year-old kid.
Politicians.
Like who are you, Ted Cruz? Like, you're an old man and you're attacking a 27-year-old. Like, come on.
Nick Fuentes is easy to denounce. And I actually think it's a tell among a Republican politician if they'll denounce Fuentes but are scared to say Tucker's name. That tells you a great deal. Nick Fuentes is a goose-stepping Nazi.
Not true. He's said multiple occasions that he's not a Nazi, so that's so wrong that he's labeling Nick Fuentes as a Nazi. That's not true. Fuentes has come out repeatedly and said that he is not a Nazi, doesn't believe in violence. He also believes that the Jewish people should have their sovereignty and their humanity. So that's wrong that he's labeling these people like this, because what does that do? It ultimately just puts a target on their backs.
And by the way, I'm not one who throws around the term Nazi loosely.
Sure you do. You're doing it right now.
But when Nick Fuentes says Hitler was very, very cool, I like Hitler and I agree with Hitler.
Never said he agreed with Hitler. He was asked on Piers Morgan what he thought about Hitler and if he thought he was cool. He said, yeah, you know, he had aura. And that was what he said. It's like, yeah, he did have aura. He was an exceptional leader. If we're comparing Hitler to Otto von Bismarck or Napoleon or George Washington or, you know, any of these great leaders you could compare them to throughout history. It's like, come on. You know, it's ridiculous. And this is an issue of trying to suppress freedom of speech in the name of anti-Semitism and their definitions of perceived anti-Semitism.
Like, when you say you agree with Hitler, you are a Nazi.
How does that make one a Nazi? Like, in what context? That statement was made for BS. You know, that is a lobbyist. That is something that is perfectly out of the lobbyist textbook. That is how you talk when you know that there's really that you can't say it like that. Like, listen to this again. Listen to the way he made this point.
Nick Fuentes says, Hitler was very, very cool. I like Hitler and I agree with Hitler.
This part right here.
Like, when
this is what I'm talking about.
You agree with Hitler, you are a Nazi.
That is so vague. Agree with Hitler on what? What is the issue? Because if it's burning transgender books, then I agree with that. I think we should burn all of the transgender books. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't believe that there should be transgender books in the schools. I don't see how that benefits anybody. So yeah, if it's on that issue, maybe he's not so bad. But again, it's to create the divide within the Republican Party. It's to create that divide of, you know, it's to get people not talking about the occupation of the United States, of which is happening right now before our eyes. They use this Nazi label to get people to not ask questions, to not question the truth, to not question the state of Israel. It makes people self-censor. And they get scared, so they don't want to actually like talk or say what is true.
Tucker has Fuentes on his show. Doesn't question him about any of the ridiculous things he said.
Yes, he did. He did.
Doesn't react
this is
at
all
all
lies.
When Fuentes tells him his mission is to combat global Jewry. And Tucker nods. Interesting.
He's an interviewer. He's a podcaster. He has to say those things to keep the conversation interesting. This guy is like so dumb.
Every year he celebrates Stalin's birthday.
Yeah, because we admire great people of history.
What kind of freak even knows Stalin's birthday? I don't know it, and I don't care to know it.
Makes a point there, I guess. But at the end of the day, it's like, dude, it's like Tucker, the kid is 27 years old. Nick Fuentes is 27 years old. He's my age. And the kid's out there just crushing it. And he's, you know, at the end of the day, he's bringing light to a lot of real truths and a lot of real things that are actually happening, real issues of a fifth column of the Israeli nation that is occupying the United States in several spheres, whether it's politics, whether it's finance, banking, and media. And right now, we do have that happening. And so these politicians right now, because their fealty is to the state of Israel, then they attack anybody who questions Israel, and they call them an anti-Semite or a Nazi. And it's like, well, that's very unfair. That's an unfair that's an unfair and, you know, obviously inaccurate categorization of somebody like Tucker Carlson or Nick Fuentes. They're Catholics. They're Christians. That's what they are. They're not Jews. You're a Jew, Ted Cruz, and they're not. That's the truth. That's how it actually is. Okay, moving on to the next story. This is also from Alex Barnicoat. America has blown up Iran's best warship, and we just got another angle on the attack. Possible hundreds, if not more, Iranian soldiers dead. What do you think about that? So again, let's listen to that story.
Came out of this missile strike onto the warship, showed us what type of warship it was. At first, we didn't really know which Iranian warship it was. The reason for that is Iran has so many. Their navy is quite big. And we thought it might have been a small, not very important warship. But in reality, it was something very different. In fact, this was Iran's flagship, Soleimani-class corvette warships. These are basically the best warships Iran has. They were unveiled properly last year, and so they haven't really done very well. Of course, this comes only a few days after another Iranian warship was sunk off the coast of India as it was sailing back from Sri Lanka. That strike killed over 100 Iranian sailors that were on board the ship. A US submarine fired a torpedo at it, then sunk it and just sailed off without rescuing the Iranian crew. They left them to die. However, as this strike took place in Iran, Iran has not announced how many sailors were on board this corvette warship, but we can only imagine it's a similar number as well. And so we could be looking here with this American strike on this corvette warship yesterday that another few hundred Iranian sailors are dead from these strikes. This war really is getting pretty brutal, and the Iranian Navy is being decimated. Of course, though, I'm going to be keeping you up to date on all of the new updates, so leave me a follow because I'm covering this Iran war, telling you stuff that you won't find anywhere else.
Yeah, give him a follow, Alex Barnicoat. And even Blumenthal is against this war, by the way, which is crazy to hear him against the war of all people. By the way, like super far left guy here. And even he's against this war with Iran. And it definitely makes me wonder why. You know, this is why Fuentes was saying that he doesn't want a Democrat. Well, he wants a Democrat to win in 2028 because it's like this war with Iran. There's no avenue where we can actually win long term and keep our alliances with all these other countries. Right. And so, you know, he wants these kind of Democrats to kind of bring Trump back down to bay. I don't know if that's a great idea. Ultimately, I think we need to just like not go to war with Iran. We need to change our minds and get out of there. OK, let's listen to what Blumenthal had to say about it, about the Iran war.
I emerged from this briefing as dissatisfied and angry, frankly, as I have from any past briefing in my 15 years in the Senate. I am left with more questions than answers, especially about the cost of the war.
Yeah, how are we going to pay for this war? Like, nobody's talking about that. The only thing I can think of that can actually afford this war is crypto. Like, writing off our debt with a crypto check.
Have been unanswered. And I will demand answers because the American people deserve to know. And I guess I am most concerned about the threat to American lives of potentially deploying our sons and daughters on the ground in Iran. We seem to be on a path.
It's nice to hear one Congress say that. One congressperson.
On the ground in Iran to accomplish any of the potential objectives here. And there is also, as disturbingly as anything else, the specter of active Russian aid.
He's like shaking. I wonder if he's got like Parkinson's or something, or if he's just like naturally shaking. That's kind of weird. He's like really shaking.
American lives. Literally, Russia seems to be aiding our enemy actively and intensively with intelligence and perhaps with other means. And China also may be assisting Iran. So the American people deserve to know
China is assisting
much
Iran.
more than this administration has told them about the cost of the war, the danger to our sons and daughters in uniform, and the potential for further escalation.
Very dangerous.
And widening of this war, a war of choice made by this president, not chosen by the American people, with potentially huge consequences.
Yeah.
To
there will be.
American lives.
We're going to see it. I predicted yesterday, I think that the sleeper cells are really going to come out. I think you're going to see a lot of sleeper cell attacks. Again, we've already seen them. Austin, Texas. We've seen Canton, Ohio. And we're seeing all these other places already. So we're going to see a lot of retaliation strikes in public events. Again, we had Disneyland. Suspicious events at Disneyland, which left people in the hospital. Ted Cruz, again, the United States should prepare for terrorist attacks on it from Iranian sleeper cells located in the country. So, yeah, Ted knows all about this. He should, especially in his city of Texas, or in the state of Texas, where Epic City is located, which is a massive Muslim community that's being built. Not sure why that was ever allowed to happen, but he allowed it to happen. So,
look, the risk of terrorism right now is quite high. We tragically saw in Austin, Texas, just last weekend.
Then get him out of there.
We saw a terrorist attack. We also saw another terrorist attack in New York.
Do something about it. Do something. Nobody can do anything but you, really. You can make the laws. You can actually do your job as a senator.
There is a heightened danger of terrorism right now, and I will say it is particularly indefensible that Democrats have shut down the Department of Homeland Security while we are facing an enhanced terrorist risk. The Department of Homeland Security exists to guard against terrorist attacks. The danger has never been higher than...
Then why hasn't it been done? It's your state of Texas, and they're building a Muslim-only community in Epic City right now. And they're never going anywhere. They're never going to leave. They're not going anywhere. And Ted Cruz is doing nothing about it. Is the border closed? No. Still open.
Right now,
What are you doing about it, Ted Cruz?
Borders under Joe Biden, we know that radical Islamic terrorists entered this country, and there's a vulnerability all across.
But how did they get in? And why are they allowed in?
This country, it is disgraceful and indefensible for the Democrats to vote party line not to fund the Department of Homeland Security right now. We need to open it up and fully fund it.
Got it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I agree with that. This country needs less migration. We need mass remigration. That is a safe thing for America that would happen. And then we need to, have law and order again in this country. People need to go to jail when they hurt somebody or kill somebody or do something wrong. China may be preparing for nuclear war, rapidly expanding its nuclear stockpile rather than focusing on deterrence, according to a new analysis warning the U.S. cannot ignore the threat. So this is China's military and their nukes, their nuclear stockpile. A little piece of it. Very interesting. It's heating up. China's not backing down. They want their oil from Iran. Here is what those naval mines look like. Again, Iran's naval mines. They're laying out like 2,000 to 6,000 of them throughout the entire Strait of Hormuz, and they look like that. You can hardly hear them. For what it is, at least. We got some crazy stuff today. Breaking: an American air defense missile hit a civilian area in Bahrain and caused huge damage. They tried to blame it on Iran, but just got proof they are lying. Again, that's a report from Israel. We'll watch that real quick.
Say it was still Iran. Even after we got breaking news, last night an Iranian drone hit a civilian area in Bahrain. But we just got proof it was actually an American air defense missile that malfunctioned and hit the residential area. In fact, the US and Bahrain tried to double down and say it was still Iran, even after we got a video proving it was an American Patriot air defense missile which hit the village.
These people in the White House really don't know that there's a thing called Twitter X or social media. They're so compartmentalized and
of the blatant
isolated.
Iranian aggression, injuries among civilians were reported, with one of them serious, and a number of houses were damaged as a result of the attack by drones. But loads of videos came out of this civilian area, completely destroyed, and there's huge damage that's taken place to this village. But something everyone was questioning is why would Iran attack a civilian area with their drones? If they're going to fly drones all the way to Bahrain and risk them being intercepted, Iran would want to hit a military targets. And so why would they hit a civilian area? Well, it turns out they didn't. Well, shortly after the US and Bahrain issued that statement accusing Iran of doing it, a video came out showing the opposite. And the video shows quite clearly an American Patriot air defense system, which was likely fired up to try and intercept an Iranian drone, going wrong and malfunctioning, and quite clearly firing across the sky and landing straight into that civilian area. And a Patriot air defense missile, when it explodes, causes a lot of damage. The type of damage we're seeing in this civilian area. And so, yes, this is really sad. It should never have happened. Civilians have been killed. But it's worth knowing this was not an Iranian attack. This was an American mistake, which is something very, very different. It'll be interesting to see if the US admits to this or Bahrain admits to this. But
the
it
US
seems
will
that
never
they're going to
admit to
double
it.
down and still try and blame it on Iran. But it's worth knowing this is something I'll probably get in trouble for covering, because this is something they definitely wouldn't want me exposing. And so, whilst I still can, I'll continue to bring you the news. So leave me a follow, because I'm covering the stuff that you won't find.
Yep, give him a follow. Andrew Coate, the guy who cracked the theoretical foundations for zero-point energy extraction, is on this site and has under 600 followers. So again, zero-point energy, zero-point gravity, whatever you want to call it. If you're into that theory, here is the post from, again, Andrew Coate. Just follow him at, or Andercott, is his handle on X. And he basically talks about zero-point gravitational technology, and while a new war for oil erupts in the Middle East, a physics paper just quietly dropped today that will eventually make oil and the entire current energy industry irrelevant. So very interesting stuff here. Very interesting stuff. So all of this is happening. All of this is being revealed as this war is being pushed. Emergent quantization from a dynamic vacuum. The Physical Review and Research by Harold White, Jerry Vera, Andre Sylvester, and Leonard Dudzinski. Big studies that interfere with the oil markets. All the mathematicians, physicists, take a look at that one. Perplexity Computer replaced $225,000 per year in marketing tools in a single weekend. We built an AI marketing agent that scans hourly, manages budgets, detects fatigue, and coordinates several campaigns end to end. In one test run, it made 224 micro optimizations in our ad stack. And we built a lot of this too at Gold Shark Media, which is my agency. I'm a CEO of Gold Shark Media. So if you want to grow your business with digital marketing, everything you're seeing here in this ad, we do a lot of the same stuff. Really just helping you grow. We can help you pretty much optimize through that ad stack and everything. U.S. banks, according to this, enter technical correlation after falling more than 10% from their February highs. And a lot of these stories I covered earlier today at 11 a.m. in my show and the Brendan Ecker channel. Polymarket partners with Peter Thiel's Palantir to develop a sports integrity platform for Polymarket sports markets. So yeah, a lot of big things happening. If you want to see the rest of these, check out Brendan Ecker, the YouTube channel, my regular channel, and it'll cover a lot of these stories that I covered earlier today. I usually cover a story every day, 11 a.m. Eastern, and then 7 p.m. Eastern as well, Monday through Thursday. So catch my show. And we'll talk about politics. We'll talk about the X algorithm, what's new. We'll talk about the markets, right? Like today, we talk about markets on my other channel, but we'll talk about them here. Why not, right? I always have them ready to go. The fear and greed index is looking pretty much the same for crypto. Sorry, we got to update everything. Made sure it worked on the stream too. Yeah, crypto's still looking good. A lot of people are feeling much better about crypto. It looks like the fear and greed index has gone up even more from earlier today when I was making my episode. We were at 24 and now we're at 26. So again, people are becoming less afraid to trade in crypto. Okay, so the fear and greed index is going back to greed. And that's what we want, right? When people are fearful, you need to be greedy. When people are greedy, you need to be fearful. As Warren Buffett said, Bitcoin's at 70,000 right now. XRP's at $1.38. So the market's pretty much staying right where it pretty much has been for the past couple months, right? Cardano, 26 cents. We're all pretty much waiting on the Clarity Act. If you're really waiting for any big things to happen in crypto, like for XLM, X payments will be coming out soon, which is Elon's X payments, and that will probably have XLM, HBAR, or XRP. There's supposed to be some kind of integration of those into that, and you'll be hearing about X payments coming out in probably the next month. And with that, you'll have a lot of possibilities with crypto. You'll have the Clarity Act that will eventually be passing. When the Clarity Act passes, then you'll finally be able to have some positive movements in the entire crypto market. So that's how the market's looking right now. Pretty much looking exactly how we did last week, right? So we're not moving up too much. We're not going too crazy. But with the oil markets, everything's unpredictable. Everything's dependent on pretty much what Trump has to say at this current place and time. The futures markets were pretty much unpredictable, have been unpredictable the past few weeks. Again, crude oil was pretty much down today. Henry Hub natural gas and RBOB were pretty much the only futures you could have invested in energy that would have done well for you. And then for gold, we're at $5,206. Silver's at $89.12. Platinum's at $2,206. And palladium is at $1,687. So the markets for precious metals still looking fine. Remember, Jim Rickards believes that gold could end up hitting 10 to 15,000. Might be worth investing in. Who knows? I mean, gold is always good to hold. Always hold the gold. Mortgage rates today on March 10th, 2026. Also wanted to touch on that a little bit. The average interest rate for a 30-year fixed rate conforming mortgage loan in the U.S. is 6.05%, an increase of about 1 basis point from the day before, according to data from the mortgage data company Optimal Blue. So this is pretty much your mortgage markets for March 10th, 2026. 30-year conventional is at 6%. Sorry, everything's loading here. And so, yeah, you get some of your rates from these websites. Fortune.com is the website I'm on. Your 15-year conventional is at 5.4%. 30-year jumbo loans at 6.3%. 30-year FHA loan is at 5.92%. 30-year VA loan is at 5.7%. And 30-year USDA loan is at 5.8%. So the markets are pretty much looking really pretty much frozen for everything. So with that being said, that's pretty much the whole show. And there's not really much new to cover. I guess we can try to look at what's happening new in the X algorithm before we really go here. And we'll see if there's any breaking news that I missed. What kind of happened while I was on this stream, right? What's the breaking news while I was on this stream? What happened? So James Fishback, he's been running for the governor of Florida, and I hope he wins. Hope to see it. Got some posts from Nick Fuentes. It said, LMAO, no way. If someone tried to tell all of you that exactly this is what is happening suddenly. Wonder what this is too. Timcast News. It's always funny to see this. It's always good drama with these. Warns MAGA about a familiar pattern. The same neocons who crushed the Tea Party are suddenly praising Trump. If they skin MAGA the way they skinned the Tea Party movement, we are in serious trouble. So what does he have to say
They're
here?
surrounded by never Trumpers. Yeah. Suddenly, all the guys on their side are all the people who hated Trump. You've got guys, I think, just the most.
That's really weird, right? That is a good point.
Saying,
all the people who are siding with Trump right now were the ones who hated Trump like 4 years ago. And all the people who loved Trump and voted for Trump hate him right now and basically are like super upset with Trump. So that is interesting.
Trump's doing the right thing. Yeah. Trump's doing the right thing finally. Half, 3/4 of the guys who wrote the Never Trump memo are all of a sudden, 100% behind Donald Trump. Yeah. And that's concerning. When Lindsey Graham is excited, when, George
Seriously.
Will is like, oh, well, I guess Trump got one right. Like, we have got.
I remember when Kamala Harris, or when Joe Biden, the night that Joe Biden defeated Trump in the election, I remember that. And I remember Lindsey Graham basically ended up giving Kamala Harris a knuckle bump for beating Trump. And it was just like no loyalty at all. And it's like that's who was running the Trump administration.
Going around and suddenly warming to the president, that's an area of concern. So I would say that it's hard not to notice that as Trump has moved more towards this foreign intervention side, more and more of the Never Trump neocons are suddenly rebranding themselves as the true MAGA, and more people who actually were with Trump from the very beginning are raising concerns, asking questions.
Bingo.
Pointing out that
Couldn't have said it better.
A serious issue. That doesn't mean that it's 100% right. It's not okay. Well, guilt by association. Whoever you're standing next to means you're tainted by it. But it's impossible not to notice that shift. And so I think it's critical. The reason many of us supported Donald Trump was to destroy this establishment, to destroy Con Inc., to unseat the neocon consensus, to bring a true Pat Buchanan-esque America First understanding to the forefront. And Trump has been great on that in many ways, including things like immigration, DEI, birthright citizenship being challenged, all these things that are so critical. So, it is not Trump has been successful in many areas, and I still support him because of his success in those areas. But people should be concerned about that shift. They should recognize, because if ultimately the neocons get to skin MAGA the way they skinned not Occupy Wall Street, the right-wing version of that.
Tea Party?
I'm sorry?
Tea Party?
Yes, the Tea Party movement. If the same way the neocons skinned the Tea Party movement, if they are able to do the same to MAGA, I think we are in some serious trouble, because the whole thing that we really believed was once Trump got elected, the MAGA coalition was the new Republican Party. Yeah. That they were going to be reigning for many decades. And if the neocons are able to coup MAGA entirely out of this situation, they don't care, because if the Democrats get back into power, it'll be the neocons that bounce back and control the conservative movement when MAGA is in shambles.
Yep.
So Trump
that's exactly the plan. J.D. Vance. That's why they want J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio to be president. And Trump is just eating into it. He really believes that Rubio's great, that J.D. Vance is great, when here these are both pretty much never Trumpers.
Are not cheering him because they suddenly believe he's a great leader. They're cheering him because they think they can use this to wedge him out.
100%. And that is definitely what's happening. So there is a civil war within government, and that's all happening. It's all going down. So that appears to be the X algorithm for today. Again, 1 hour ago while I was streaming, Iran strikes U.S. Israeli targets with 1-ton warhead missiles and wave. Whoa. Let's look at this real quick. 1-ton war missiles. Damn. That's crazy. Sorry about that. That's really annoying. We'll just turn the audio off there. Yeah, but that's happening. That's crazy. Iran strikes U.S. Israeli targets with 1-ton warhead missiles in Wave 37. Wild. Look at those flames. That's a missile. They gotta be, again, right now what we've heard is that it's allegedly like 150, somewhere around there, soldiers who have been killed. So this is definitely not good. Definitely not good. So that seems to be everything in the Twitter X algorithm today. Claude, $1,000, told it to make money or die. Yeah, so Claude is making money by itself now. That's some new things that are going on. Iran is launching a powerful attacks on Israel. A series of explosions have occurred in several cities in Israel. In Haifa, a power station is on fire following a missile strike. So that's pretty crazy. So that seems to be the day on X. So we got a lot of the same stuff that we're seeing, a lot of the same stories, a lot of the same information. What's this? This one forwarded to me 2 hours ago. For 2 hours, I've been running deep fake scans on this one, anticipating the bad news. It passed every single one of the scans. It's a series of videos stitched together from the hillside in Peru. So, March 2026, Peru. Story, walking back down towards home after spending time up the hills in this small town in Peru. All of a sudden, these semi-observable objects appeared. At the time, they took shape and then appeared as glowing only, holding original shape. He said they moved like glitches in the Matrix. Then they sent out spheres, what they were looking for, and now I hesitated and posted this because of all the living in the mom's basement expert with no job, ready to become UFO experts, LMAO. I just present the evidence. This is what I was forwarded. So, yeah, whether or not you believe in this video and aliens and extraterrestrials, who knows? But these are some of the bigger stories that are popping up on X right now. They really are trying to get people with the alien, the disclosure. But you also have to understand that the United States had an operation called Operation Bluebeam, and it would be this operation to really host this fake alien invasion on planet Earth, Operation Bluebeam. And essentially, I think that's what we're going to be seeing a lot of. It's really going to be to manipulate the masses through holographics in the sky. They're going to do this through drones and a lot of crazy stuff. Joe Rogan on Trump and Iran war. It just seems so insane based on what he ran on. This is why a lot of people feel betrayed. Yeah, totally. Let's listen to Joe Rogan's stance on it.
Bomb.
Pretty much how I exactly feel.
I mean, neither thing made any sense to me. The Venezuela thing, at least that one was at least clean. They go in, kidnap him, get him out. This one's nuts. Like, if they had supposedly dismantled their chances of making a nuclear bomb, whether or not that's true, or, I mean, it's so hard to know. It just seems so insane based on what he ran on. I mean, this is why a lot of people feel betrayed, right? He ran on no more wars and these stupid, senseless wars, and then we have one that we can't even really clearly define why we did it.
Well, but he said he's against endless
Really?
wars.
Yeah.
Well, they're
Running
all,
against endless wars.
listen, man,
So-
they're all endless. Did
Well, if
you
we
ever
put-
hear Rumsfeld talk about Iraq when it first happened?
Tell me.
They were talking about like 6 weeks.
Crazy. So a lot of the same stuff we're seeing. Reconnaissance units detected a squad of Russian fighters who entered Ukrainian-controlled territory and took shelter into a building. Fighters from the 33rd Mechanized Brigade planned a two-group assault with objective of eliminating or capturing the enemy. Before the assault began, the building was engaged with fire from a tank, an APC, and RPGs. Later in the evening, 5-man assault group entered the area and conducted the clearing, while the second group provided cover to ensure the position could not be reused. Sappers carried out controlled demolition at 13 minutes and 42 seconds, 16 minutes and 38 seconds. It's a little bit of the footage happening in Ukraine. What's going on in that war? It's real. Very sad to see. A lot of these men had no choice. A lot of these men were ripped into vans and forced to fight. And I just won't be facing that outcome. No. I mean, this is just so evil, you know. It's very unfortunate, but this is the cost of war. This is what happens during war, right? This is kind of where we're at in history. So let's go to 1342 here because I want to see the explosion. because I like seeing shit blow up a little bit. I mean, I am a cop, like I'm a former cop, right. We like to have fun, watch military videos, and analyze the situation, monitor the situation, as they say. 1342, we're getting there. A little glitchy with this computer, so hold on. All right, we're coming up to it. Another 20 seconds. Here it comes. A few more seconds, and boom. Down she goes. War. That's where we're at. And then 1638 was the second one, it says. 1638. Sorry, this is a little glitchy. There we go. 10 seconds. That quickly. Somebody's home, Somebody's home. Like, why, But that's what happens with war. That's what happens with war. I'm officially on the ballot for re-election. Thank y'all for sending me here.
Well, you ripped that
Tim
guy
Burchett.
apart.
Yeah,
Man,
Tim Burchett. I like Tim Burchett. And that's pretty much all I have to cover for the night. I think we've went through all of the bigger stories for today. I guess we'll read this last one. IRGC besieged member filmed himself leaving his post, saying he believes the Islamic regime is over, standing inside what he believes to be besieged barracks. Yeah, I think that's a lot of propaganda. Alrighty, that's all I have to say for tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Hopefully it was worth it. Hopefully you had fun. And at the end of the day, be sure to stay safe. Stay vigilant, of course, during the war. And at the end of the day, you just can't be too careful in 2026. You can't be too careful in the modern world, right? We're facing a multi-front war, essentially, and a lot of multi-domain war. And a lot of different things are being used, a lot of different strategies, old tactics. And the question is whether or not we're going to be able to maintain our sovereignty as a country under all of this war. Are we going to be able to maintain relationships and alliances with these other countries, right? With Saudi Arabia after all of this is over, with all of the nations like India? Are we going to maintain all of these alliances? What happens with Russia? Will we develop some kind of deal with Russia or not? That is kind of the objectives of the future. How can Trump end this war, and are we going to be able to end the war? So thank you for watching.